Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Boyko.
Hello, everyone.
Writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett.
Surprise day again.
And most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. A show where we talk about the things that we love, movies and movie news, TV and streaming and all that good stuff. And we're awfully glad that you guys are here to come along on the ride with us and just hang out with some friends and talk about some of our favorite things. So with all that said, let's not waste any time and get right into it here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. I don't know if I've ever looked forward to a television show more, other than Shogun, than when they announced they were doing a Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power series.
Yeah.
That, I mean, and especially when they advertised all the behind the scenes people that were involved with it, dude, I was counting down the days like a Christmas calendar for years for that show to come out. And then was great excitement and anticipation. Ann and I went to the Cinemark Theater out in Anaheim to watch the first 2 episodes on the big screen. And I walked out of that saying, I'll stick with it, but I'm almost ready to tap out after the first couple of episodes. And while there were some highlights in the there definitely were. There were absolutely some highlights in season 1, particularly the relationship between Durin and Elrond. Like every moment they were on screen together was great, but that wasn't much of the show. And I ultimately just felt that first season was quite a disappointment. So I was not looking forward to season 2. Season 2 came out, and while I am not going to call season 2 a great season of television, it was good. I mean, it was definitely a wild improvement over season 1.
Yeah, even the pacing.
Oh, especially the pacing.
Yeah.
They just had more focus. They didn't meander as much. There was more direction. The pacing was much better. It was just at least this one, season 2 was an enjoyable show to watch, and I liked it. And it showed that they were getting, they were learning the lessons from season 1, and hopefully going into season 3 in 2027, it would be even better. Well, now, according to this report in the Hollywood Reporter, we don't now have to wait until 2027. It's going to come out this year. As they were writing The Rings of Power Season 3 to premiere later this year, some reports have suggested that the next installment of the Prime Video hit was set to debut in 2027, but the Hollywood Reporter stands it will be sooner. They also go on to say this. The official plot synopsis reads, jumping forward several years from the events of Season 2, Season 3 takes place at the height of the War of the Elves and Sauron, as the Dark Lord seeks to craft the one ring that will give him the edge he needs to win the war and conquer all of Middle-earth at last. All right.
I wonder if he gets away with it.
I wonder what will happen to him. Do you think he'll succeed in forging the one ring? Like I said a little bit earlier, going into season 2, I was not excited. I was not looking forward to it. I was going to check it out, but I was definitely not looking forward to it. I was even late in starting to watch it. Like I didn't watch episode 1 of season 2, I think until like week 3, when I had some of our viewers saying, you know what, John, this season's better. I'm like, all right. So jumped on and I'm glad that I did. I'm actually looking forward to this one. And I think the reason I'm not nearly as much as I was looking forward to season 1, but I think the reason I'm looking forward to it now is because what impresses me are people who can identify and adjust. And with how disappointed I was in season 1, again, I thought the improvement on season 2 was vast improvement. And if they can do the same thing again, identify the things that worked and double down on them, identify the things that still didn't work and tweak them or eliminate them, if they can keep the trajectory going like this, then season 3 could be really special. At this point, Rob, I'll be content if it's just as good as season 2. If it's as good as season 2, I'll just be content. It's like, yep, good season of television. I liked it. It's not on the House of the Dragon or, Game of Thrones or Shogun or whatever kind of level. It's not top tier, but if it's enjoyable, it's enjoyable. But if they can improve it over season 2, it might be something pretty great. Anyway, you heard about this It looks like season 3 is going to come out this year now. I think I remember you were like me in that you were not impressed with season 1. I can't remember what your thoughts on season 2. So anyway, what do you think about this news of season 3, and are you anticipating it?
Well, like you, I was really, obviously, I worked on the Lord of the Rings extended edition special features. I was immersed in Lord of the Rings for more than a number of years, and I was really excited for the show. And, to me, the first season did something. It opened with Galadriel's quest. And immediately I don't care about the gender or the sexuality, the identity politics of characters. But the Galadriel that they presented in the beginning of that show was not Tolkien's Galadriel. They turned her into something that was not from the books. They altered her character. Now, you can do that, but I was like, but why? I'm like, we know what Galadriel is, and if you go back and look at the books, she wasn't like she was portrayed. And that annoyed me right out of the gate. I'm like, you could have created a new character, but you had to tie it back to the Lord of the Rings that people knew, which was kind of odd because you had I understand why they were doing it, but I felt that they did that through the entire first season, and they had to bring Gandalf back, even though that's not necessarily canonical. So that annoyed me.
Well, the way they did it actually does fit into the mythology of the original writings. It
Kinda.
actually does, like
You can
mythology-wise.
I mean, yeah, and
What they did was compress the first and the second
Yes,
eras.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. And I'm like, okay, you knew what you were doing. That annoyed me. Only because I'd spent years steeped in this lore and reading the books and stuff. But that said, season 1 as a show did not impress me. Like you talked about, just pacing. I mean, it had no pacing
There
at
were
all.
there were more issues than just pacing, but that was the most obvious
Yeah,
one. I
pacing and
encountered
then
every week.
characters. And I felt that the problem was they were trying to make up a story that didn't, that they had to, because they couldn't, they could only use the appendices. They couldn't go back and use the Silmarillion and all that. That was annoying. But I agree with you. I reluctantly started to watch season 2. And I'm like,
Reluctant is a good word, because
Yeah.
I was the same way.
reluctant.
Reluctant.
And look, credit where credit is due. I'm always the person that says every franchise or IP is one step or one show or one movie or one comic series away from being restored to its lustrous. And as a comic book fan, I am so used to reading an incredible run on comic books. Great artist-writer team. Oh my God, I can't wait to get these comics. And then they're replaced by a new writer.
Isn't that depressing? The artist changes too, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all of a sudden, it totally feels like a different comic.
Yeah,
at
and you
that
go
point.
back
Yeah.
and to be a comic fan for decades is to understand that back and forth.
Yeah.
So whenever I see something that's shitty, just terrible, I'm like, look, all you have to do is get a new creative team that will revitalize the whole thing. And Star Trek: The Next Generation, great example of that. When Michael Piller came on board the third season, they changed the entire philosophy about where the stories would come from, and that's when Star Trek: The Next Generation became great. Now, if we'd canceled it after season 1, people would have been like, well, whatever. Yeah. And Patrick Stewart would have gone home. So I have no problem watching a show. Like, the premise of season 3 sounds like the kind of, that's how that should have began. Like, if you want to, like, the War of the Ring is something we actually saw in the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. So the lead up to that gives you a lot more leeway. You don't have to go back. You could have done, like, how did men and elves and all these people team up to make that fight?
Right.
So, to add a long way around answering your question, yes, I have somewhat of an anticipation of the third season of Rings of Power because I want it to be good. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Professor Tolkien. I want the show to be good. I'm hoping it's good. And by the way, this is right up my alley. Show me the War of the Ring, man. Show me the people of Middle Earth coming together to fight Sauron. Mm-hmm. Come on, bring it on. And we know how it's going to end. It's kind of like it should be the Andor of the Rings of Power show because we know how the beginning
really
of Fellowship
should.
of the Ring is the end is Rogue One. So we know where it's going to go.
You know what one of the other big problems of season 1 was?
Huh?
If you look at a show like the original Game of Thrones, right? You can definitely say that there are different characters in different areas and we follow different storylines. But in Game of Thrones, it always felt like one story.
Yes.
And when you got to season 1 of Rings of Power, it was so dispersed
Right.
that every episode felt like I was watching a completely different show. And I don't mean that in a good way. It never felt cohesive.
And
Yeah.
you had to reorient yourself.
Yes,
And,
every
like,
time.
what's
It-
going
different-
on here?
Different tone, not just different characters. That's fine, but like with how, like again,
Felt
Game
like
of
short
Thrones.
stories jumbled together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
totally.
with Game of Thrones, it all felt cohesive. It all felt like I was looking at just different areas of the same page. And season 1 of that didn't. Season 2 solidified that a little bit better. I think they need to do that even more in season 3. And dear God, give us more Elrond and Durin.
Yes,
Right.
please.
That
And-
was the best. That was the only thing that really worked in season 1, and I felt like we didn't get much of it in season
And what's
3.
interesting is you could have built the entire show around their relationship.
at least season 1.
Yeah, like they
Yeah.
were the, and the
Yeah.
spokes of all that led back to the two of them.
Instead we were stuck with a bunch of stinky little Harfoots. I did, and that's the thing too. Is like not only was it a jumbled mess, I only liked about 10% of the characters in season 1.
Yeah.
90%. I'm like, I hate these people.
Well, and
I
that
don't
was-
want to look at them.
They seem like they're and I'll tell you
hate
something.
these people.
That was another the same way they changed Galadriel. They're like, well, we have to stick hobbits in there just because that's what people expect.
Season 2, I started liking more characters.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
here's the funny thing. I didn't even mind at all that they were taking liberties with Galadriel to kind of, because I like that. It's the one thing I actually didn't hate about Twilight was them taking mythology of vampires and changing it up a little bit. I didn't mind them doing that
But that was
if you at least left us with an interesting character.
Right.
And she got more interesting in season 2 because they focused her a little bit better. But in season 1, okay, you want to make a bit of a departure from the I'm not going to say canonical, but rather like the text version of Galadriel. Okay, that's fine. Play around with it a little bit, get in that playground, mess around a little bit. But you still, at the end of the day, have to give us a good, interesting character that we want to watch.
yes.
And I just found her a little bit insufferable. in
So
season
insufferable.
1. That was the problem.
I wanted to push her back off the boat.
yeah, push her off the
And the
boat.
funny thing about including the Harfoots in this whole thing is they were not necessarily major players in the lore. It again, like Galadriel, I felt like you guys just thought you had to have hobbits.
But
in
it
the
felt
show.
familiar.
Yeah, and I'm like, that was a wrong-headed thing to do.
Well, listen, we got to move on from this. But guys, question is for you. It looks like we don't actually have to wait until 2027 because the Hollywood Reporter is saying we're going to get season 3. I'm actually looking forward to it. I just don't revert back to season 1 of the Rings of Power. We're going to get it before the end of the year. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the big controversies of the last few years, not nearly as big as Batgirl, but was the one surrounding Coyote versus Acme. Of course, it was a movie, got made, and the powers that be said, we can't release this. Then something interesting happened. They said, but we're willing to let this thing have a life, Warner Brothers said. Anybody want to come pick it up? All we want you to pay for it is what we paid to make it. That's it. I think, what was the price tag they asked for? 70 million?
Yeah, 70,
Something like that. Something around there. No studio in Hollywood wanted to touch it. Nobody wanted it. Fast forward about a year or so, and ketchup and mayonnaise
Ketchup.
jizz. Is that what it's called?
I think so. That's the official.
Ketchup and mayonnaise jizz?
Yeah.
It's like the Fox Force 5 joke.
No,
Ketchup.
what is that? Is ketchup something?
No, I think it's just ketchup and
Is it
mayonnaise.
ketchup media or something
Yeah.
like that? Well, anyway, ketchup came along. The
Fox
same
Force
company
5, nice.
that ended up releasing The Day the Earth Blew Up. Remember that the Looney Tunes
Right.
movie
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was in theaters? By the way, The Day the Earth Blew Up, wide release film, 2,800 screens it played on in America. Anybody want to take a guess how much money that movie made?
Yeah.
Grand total worldwide? Any guess?
50 million.
It rhymes.
Oh,
15 million.
oh, okay.
Worldwide, grand total, $15 million.
It's a shame though, because it got good.
That's the thing. And that movie got good reviews.
Yeah.
People seemed to like it, and ain't nobody wanted to go see it. So Warner Brothers was like, and you wanted us to release Coyote versus Acme? Well, we found out then Ketchup Mayonnaise Jizz was going to release the film. And we've been hearing a trailer is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, the trailer, as you can see here in Deadline, Coyote versus Acme trailer. Attorney Will Forte defends Wile E. Coyote against Acme in the first look at the long-anticipated live-action animation hybrid. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they got that headline wrong. Is Coyote not the plaintiff in this? Is that
Will Forte
Acme defending itself
defend-
against?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah. He's not defending him.
that's right.
Yeah.
So at any rate,
They don't know law.
so we've been waiting a long time because don't forget, Lord and Miller saw this film. Remember they saw a screening of it like 2.5 years ago, whatever?
Yeah.
And they said they really liked it.
And I trust him.
So the trailer arrives today, and it's a big meh burger. Did nothing for me.
What?
The only time I grinned was the part they did at the end, which I thought was really funny, was the whole Foghorn Leghorn thing. It would be a shame if this situation turned out to be more than it is, or you know what happens. Because I've always loved Foghorn Leghorn. Nothing else in it was funny. Here's the thing. The premise is great. I've always loved the premise of the idea. Is that my whole childhood, I watched as Wile E. Coyote use one device after another that failed to live up to its marketing and help him catch that damn Roadrunner. And the whole idea of him now taking them to court for libel, I thought was a really good idea. And the movie might end up being really charming and delightful. But name one joke in the trailer that was funny. There was not one
I
thing.
think it was kind. I think it's. I mean, it's not like it. It's not. I think it's more of a situational experience.
And I like the situation.
I thought it was. I did. I thought it was funny.
And here's the other thing. After watching the trailer, nobody's going to go see this. Now, this will make more than The Day the Earth Blew Up because there's some controversy surrounding it. But it isn't going to be much more. I'll tell you right now, this movie will not make back what Warner Brothers was initially asking for it. It will not make $70 million. Won't make 70. No one's going to go see this. And this trailer, if there are people out there, and I'm sure there are, who are already looking forward to seeing it, they're going to go see this and they were delighted to see this. But for anybody else who was just completely in the middle, like maybe hadn't heard about this, I don't think this trailer is going to motivate anybody else to go see it. I'm just calling it like I see it. I mean, I'm going to go see it opening day because I love the premise. And if Lord Miller says it's good, that's good enough for me. So I'll go see it and I hope I like it. But again, I remember people telling me that like The Day the Earth Blew Up, I remember having a debate with somebody on the show swearing that The Day the Earth Blew Up was at least going to make 200 million.
Yeah.
At least you don't understand, John. You don't understand how beloved Looney Tune is, they would say to me. Like, I don't care. I'm looking at what the viewing habits are of the audience. And again, The Day the Earth Blew Up made 15 million, 15, not 50. And I don't see Coyote versus Acme making much more than 50, maybe at most. I don't know. Rob, you saw the trailer. What did you think about the trailer? And do you think it's going to do well?
I really liked the trailer. And I really liked the trailer because it was, I wanted to see how they presented it. I wanted to see what the tone of the movie was. And I've liked this premise ever since I read that essay, 1990. And I thought the trailer really played up the premise. Now, to me though, it's hard to explain. Like it works more like the way Roger Rabbit worked for me. Like I like to see these two worlds colliding.
By the way, how did Jonathan describe?
Yeah, he was right.
Oh
Jonathan
yeah,
described it as
I said it was a mix of Better Call Saul and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
that is actually the perfect way to
I
put
think
it. Yeah.
I think it's more like there's something inherently surreal and interesting about this whole notion. And so to me, I thought it leaned into the premise and it was funny. I mean, it to me it didn't have like snarky one-liners, but it was more of a it was to me, they were exploring the overall premise in an interesting way. And I guess I've never seen this movie as necessarily a comedy as much as more I'm seeing it as a fantasy film. the same way that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was really funny, but it was also a noir thriller.
Right.
And I see this as this to me. I was looking at this more as a surreal existential film as opposed to an outright comedy. And for me, it kind of worked in that way. And I'm really curious. I agree with you. Are people going to flock to this? Probably not. However, I do think, however they position this, I mean, this is funny. John Cena with Tweety Bird, you know, I mean, I thought that was funny.
I don't know, man. I was just waiting for like moments in the trailer. Now, again, we are just talking about the trailer. We have, and I try to remind people of this all the time. We have all seen tons of bad looking trailers to things that turned out to be great.
Sure.
And great looking trailers to things that have turned out to be bad, right? Remember, the directors of the films do not make the trailers unless your name is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Like 99.99 have nothing to do with making the trailers. It's usually a marketing department. But I was waiting for it. I was waiting every moment in this trailer, like, okay, it's cutting to something else now. Maybe that'll make me laugh or smile. And it didn't. Now it's cutting to something else. And really, it then was all just nostalgia porn. It's like, ooh, that's Bugs Bunny. Ooh, that's Tweety Bird. Ooh, we know that guy. And, and here's the problem with going to nostalgia is a lot of the current movie-going audience never watched Looney Tunes. They're not as old as us, Rob. And even too old for the Pinky and the Brain generation. God, I loved Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah. But I think the Foghorn Leghorn moments are really great. I love that moment.
I did.
But I think
moment.
that's also the crux of the movie right there. Is you have a collision between the real world and the Looney Tunes world, and that to me, I want to see how they're going to play that out.
I hope it's good.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna go. I'm definitely gonna go because, like I said, Lord Miller said they enjoyed it. That's good enough for me. So I'm gonna check it out.
And I think Will Forte is a great bit of casting.
You are so right.
He's like the
perfect guy for it.
Yeah.
You know who? Okay, him. You know who else would have been pretty good in that role? I could see in that role, Jason Segel.
Oh yeah.
Will Forte or a Jason Segel.
And I think also why did I not know John Cena was in this movie?
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
But
either.
he's like the or not the fulcrum. What is it called? He's like the center point. The
fulcrum.
He's the intersection between the Looney Tunes, because he can be Looney Tunes and the real world. So I'm like, well, what a great. That's why I thought him grabbing Tweety Bird was funny, because he to me is the character in the movie that can traverse. It would not surprise me to see a cartoon version of John Cena in this movie, that somehow he can go between the animated Looney Tunes world and our world. That wouldn't surprise me if he's like a fixer that can go into the cartoon world for whatever reason, like Ray Donovan or something. I'm the Ray Donovan of the animation world.
I miss Ray Donovan, by the way.
That was a great
I used
show.
to love that show. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think? The Looney Tunes trailer of Coyote versus Acme. Great premise for a movie, by the way. The trailer is finally here. Did you enjoy the trailer? Are you looking forward to the movie? How well do you think it'll do? Do you think a lot of people are going to round up to go see it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, man, last night was an interesting bit of TV. It's always been Daredevil was on. I thought another great episode. The Boys was on, which I thought it was a tremendous episode.
Oh my God.
I loved the episode of The Boys. I thought it was great. But the season finale of Invincible season 4 dropped yesterday, ending this chapter to it. And, you know, I've been hit and miss a bit with Invincible. Like, I thought season 1 was unbelievably good. I loved season 1. Season 2, straight up, I just didn't like. It's not just that I liked it less. I didn't like it. I didn't think season 2 was very good. Season 3 was a return to form. I don't think it was as good as season 1, but it was definitely a return to form, and I enjoyed it. And now we came into season 4. And, you know, Jonathan asked me as I came in this morning, you know, he asked me, where does it rank for you? And I definitely think, I still don't think this season was as good as season 1 overall, but it had 1 or 2 episodes that were better than anything in season 1. And overall, I think it's the second best season. It was a really good season. A really good season. And they did something in Invincible, and they continue to do this. They know how a season finale should be. You know, I always point to Supernatural as a perfect example of how to perfectly execute season finales. Because what they would always do in Supernatural is when they get to the season finale, they would wrap up to us in a satisfying way the story of the season, while then using the last 5, 10, 15 minutes to open the door for what the next season will be. So you feel as an audience member a sense of satisfaction and completion while also getting your tease for the next season. Invincible does that too. They do a really good job of making you feel, yes, this is the wrapping up of this chapter, wraps it up, and here's what's to come. And they did it perfectly with this season. And you know what? It's also a little bit of Game of Thrones in that the big episode in Game of Thrones, you know this, right? Every season is the second to last episode. The big episode is never the final episodes. It's always the, what? How do you say it? The penultimate,
and then the denouement
episode
kind of thing. Yeah.
Is that, and that's true here. Yeah. The second to last episode of this season of Invincible, I think might have been the best episode of Invincible ever. I really do. I think it might have been the single best because it was great in and of itself, but there's a lot of things that are the culmination of 3 seasons worth of story that then come to these heads. Yeah. And they executed it beautifully and wonderfully. And I'll tell you why the other reason I really liked this season is because Invincible at times can fall into the, oh, I get it. Now that's the toughest opponent they could ever come against. Oh, now that's the toughest. Oh, now that's the strongest punch ever. And every single episode, yes. Oh, bodies ripped in half, heads ripped off. I get it. We've seen it 1,000 times. But what they did in season 4 was they did a great job of mixing all that gratuitous stuff in. And I love me the gratuity. Could use a little bit more sex, but whatever. And mix it into a bowl. Hey, listen, they show people getting their heads ripped off and literally intestines pulled out of their bodies, but they can't show a couple of people bang. I don't know.
That's America.
Welcome to America. But at any rate, you know, they did a great job of having all that, but this season really, the story of the season really gets to character, to the interpersonal dilemmas and problems and weaknesses and fears and frailties. Like even everything with Adam Eve, with her going through her pregnancy and like how she wrestled with that. I found when you make the big fantastical, like the world of Invincible, and then you bring it back and make it truly human at the same time, and the human experiences we have, and you let us connect with that. Because I don't connect with a space god running around with a guy riding with Space Racer and his whatever beam that can blow up planets, whatever. But you bring it back down, and then like this final episode, Mark literally, he finally says to Cecil, "You once told me there were people I could talk to. I think I need to take you up on that," because he's suffering with a weird form of PTSD and trauma, and he's dealing with, and like the way they brought all of that together into this season, I thought was truly great. It was truly, again, I still think season 1 overall is a little bit better, but this was truly a wonderful season of Invincible. It had all the action you would want, but it also had all the great storylines, the drama, the culmination of years of building up of certain things. I still think they go pretty light on Nolan, on Omni-Man. You know, oh no, I'm a good guy now and I deserve a second chance. Dude, you literally killed thousands and thousands of people. But whatever, be that as it may, I thought it was really great and I enjoyed it. Now, I know you're not all the way through season 4 yet,
but I've been
started on it.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. I mean, I'd read these comics, and I think it's a pretty good adaptation of the Invincible comic series. I've got the oversized. I guess the
It's
image
certainly
version
very
of the absolute.
accurate.
Yeah, it very much
Other
is.
than like them gender swapping tech jacket, but other than that,
Yeah.
like it's like frame for frame from the comic.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm looking forward to. I just haven't. There's so much to watch. You
There
know,
is so
I mean,
much
if
to
somebody
watch.
calls me up and says you got to watch Detective Holé on Netflix, which Joel Kinnaman is in. It's a Nordic crime show. I jumped over there like I didn't. It wasn't even on my radar. But I haven't caught up with this week's Daredevil yet. You know,
No.
I went and watched it. I'm like, oh my god, it's 9 episodes. It was awesome.
Sometimes I just shut down and watch City Skylines videos on YouTube. Like, I just can't handle it.
I will say, if I was going to point out some criticisms of season 4, I think my biggest criticism for season 4, and I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback for this.
Right.
I've tried. I don't like Oliver. I don't like Mark's little brother. I just find him annoying and pointless. And I get it. He kind of serves as another touch point of regret for Nolan for Omni-Man, but he's just not. And especially since if you know what ultimately happens to Oliver later in the Invincible lore, it doesn't make him any more likable. I just don't. I've never found the character interesting. I've never found the character likable. He's not particularly formidable. But honestly, that's it. That's it. Everything else, I was pretty damn satisfied with this season. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you guys watch any of Invincible season 4? Are you an Invincible fan? If so, what did you think of this season? I thought it was a great, true, full return to form for Invincible. And again, I love the way they wrapped up the story of the season and opened the door for what's to come, because it's going to get bonkers. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, we got a couple of other things to talk about here, including, of course, Clayface, which they gave us a presentation for at CinemaCon, but the trailer is now live. The poster is out. We're going to talk about it. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Hims. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Hims. I know a lot of us have weight loss goals, but actually hitting them, that's the hard part. Hims now offers access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill at its lowest price ever and the Wegovy pen. And when combined with diet and exercise, Wegovy can help you lose up to 20% or more of your body weight by helping regulate your appetite so you eat less. You connect with a licensed provider who determines if treatment is right for you, and if prescribed, your medication gets delivered straight to your door, no insurance needed. Plus, you get 24/7 access to your care team and in-app support like meal plans, recipes, fitness videos, and more. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/Campea to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/Campea. hims.com/Campea. Based on advertised cash price for a 30-day supply of medication only. Membership required, fee not included, and billed separately. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information and restrictions, visit hims.com. And thank you to our friends at Hims for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, I have to admit, I'm a big James Gunn fan. Everybody knows that. I'm a massive James Gunn fan. I've yet to not really enjoy any of his projects. I think he's gotten the DC universe off to a great start. That being said, he has made a couple of decisions that have made me scratch my head about, but why do that? Or to quote Chris Carr, for why? Like, what are we doing here? What's it? And I have to admit, I was very puzzled when they announced that they were doing a Clayface movie. Like, really? Like, before we get Batman, before we have a new Aquaman, before we have Wonder Woman, we're getting Clayface. That's an interesting choice. But then again, this is the guy who gave us Polka Dot Man and a character called Ratcatcher 2, and yet made both of them phenomenal characters on the screen. Not to mention, I hated the idea of Peacemaker, and I ended up loving that show. So they're going to do Clayface. I'm like, all right. Then we get word that Mike Flanagan was writing it. Mike frickin' Flanagan was going to be writing behind The Haunting of Hill House, Dr. Sleep, Life of Chuck, Midnight Mass, all this great stuff. By the way, Dr. Sleep is a wildly underrated movie.
I agree.
So good.
Yeah.
Nobody went to go see it. Anyway, but once they announced that he was writing Clayface, I think a lot of us kind of sat up and like, oh, okay. Then James Gunn promised us a body horror kind of film. Like, all right. Because remember, James Gunn a couple of years ago did this really big interview where he has seen the John Campea Show because he said exactly what I've been saying for years. He says, there's no such thing as comic book movie fatigue. He said it's mediocre movie fatigue. And I'm like, where the hell have I heard that before? But he said in that interview, he said, the problem that can happen with comic book films is sameness. Like, we always have to remember we have this world of these fantastic beings, but we have to tell a variety of interesting kinds of stories within those worlds. And man, if anything screams that more than Clayface, I don't know what. So then we go to CinemaCon last week, and they show us the trailer for Clayface, which is now online for the world to see. And I mean, first of all, they dropped, you got that poster?
Oh, yeah, but I deleted it.
This
Hang
is such a disturbing image.
Well, okay, let's leave it on this for a second while you find the poster. But this is the opening frame. This is the opening shot
Right.
of the Clayface trailer. And like, they could have just, because you get that little boom, boom, and the screen comes up and it's that handsome man.
There's the poster, which is like, oh.
And the poster's great too. The poster, I love the poster. We'll get to the poster in a second. But the first thing we see when the trailer comes up is this dude's face. And that, they could have ended the whole trailer after 3 seconds. And I already would be buzzing about Clayface. Because one shot, I think, tells us everything we need to know about what the tone of this movie is going to be.
Looks like Darkman.
And a little bit of Darkman. Wonder if Liam Neeson's going to pop up there.
Just take you up an elephant.
Or like Paul McCrane in RoboCop when he's had the toxic waste dumped on him and his face is melting.
Or I keep going back to that one character in the Hannibal movie.
Oh, Mason Verger.
yeah.
Mason, that's it. But I just saw this and I'm like, oh, I was chilled. I felt chills just with that shot. And then the trailer goes on and I'm like, this is not feeling like any DC film I've ever seen. And by the end of the trailer, I was struck by two things. One, this looks awesome. Like that, just right away. This looks awesome. Let's say his name wasn't Clayface. Take the name of it. If all I knew is that this is some body horror film and I saw this trailer, I'd be like, yes. Yes, say I. I am down for whatever this movie is, but it's a DC film. It's Clayface. The only real Clayface-ism is that we talked about this at CinemaCon was when we just get that shot against the brick wall where you only see his Clayface's shadow and he raises his hand and you see the hand spread into like a giant mace thing, which is a very Clayface thing. I would have said yes. So the first thing that I was struck with was how great it looked. The second thing that I was struck with was this is what comic book films need to do. Not make body horror films, but expand the kinds of stories they tell. Don't get me wrong. I want my crash bang save the world movies. Sure. Absolutely. 100%. Those are the standard staples. Some of my all-time favorites. Absolutely keep making those. But in the midst of making those, you've got to be willing to branch out and make stuff like this. You know what? Marvel has started on that a little bit. Wonder Man was a wonderful revelation. Yeah. That was a great series, totally different. Part of the reason I like Eternals so much, whereas a lot of people out there poo-poo on Eternals, like the fact that it was such a different kind of Marvel movie, I really appreciated that. But this, written by Mike Flanagan, I think not only looks great as a standalone movie, but I also think the importance of this movie, because it shows filmmakers you can tell all kinds of stories in a comic book fantastical world.
This looks like Tom Cruise in Vanilla Sky.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. God,
You know-
that's a good shot too.
Yeah, and I
like that
when I
one,
saw
too.
that flash, I was thinking, what does this remind me of? I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the idea that your skin, we all are going to get older, our skin gets looser, but there's something incredibly disturbing about our body morphing or dripping away like this. like I can't think of more. This is nightmarish. This is nightmare fuel to me. Like if suddenly my face was, and that's what Clayface is. And what they've done is they've reinvented Clayface into a credible, I believe him. Like you can't do the animated Clayface. Who's going to believe that? But this is a way to do Clayface where I'm like, I'm in. I already feel bad for this guy. I want to know what his story is. And how does he become villainous? And once you set up a villain like this, I mean, this is a good Batman villain.
Yeah.
Like in the real world, he might convince me he could interact with Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah, but
the
then it just
animated
becomes
Batman never
fantastical
would.
with
Yeah, well, it depends on how they set him up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're right. You cannot make him the animated
No.
Clayface.
No.
You just can't.
No.
Because I got to admit, like again, I don't think this will be popular, but my definitive Clayface is Alan Tudyk. Lady Gaga.
Yeah, of
That
course.
I don't know why, but the Clayface from the Harley Quinn show is my default Clayface
Sure.
now. So this will be Lady Gaga. Ann and I, every once in a while, I don't know why, whenever Lady Gaga's name comes up in the news, either Ann or I will race to be the first one to say Lady Gaga. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to manifest this, because we're just getting. Oh, by the way, this is how they end the trailer.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember we were watching it, and as much as that first shot of him in the bandages in the hospital bed shook me, this shook me too. Like this was, again, this is a DC movie. I cannot wait to watch this, man. I cannot wait to watch it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think, both by the trailer for Clayface and for that poster they put out? Because that poster is mint. I love that poster. That's a poster I would hang on my wall.
And it tells you what it is.
Yeah, I don't say that very often about any post, even a lot of posters like that, but that Clayface one,
Yeah.
that's one I would hang on my wall. Guys, question is for you. What did you think about the poster and the trailer? Are you looking forward to this? Are you confused by it? Does it look legitimately creepy to you like it does to me? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. And all right, guys, that will wrap up today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys for being here and taking time out of your day to spend with us. We know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, but the fact that you guys would hang out with us and talk about this sort of stuff is awfully gratifying. So thank you so much for that. So for Jonathan Voico,
See you guys later.
Robert Meyer Burnett,
I'll see you soon.
my name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.